Hello?
Okay, you can mute it now.
Greetings. Hello? Greetings.
That is very
Ooh,
weird.
somebody's recording me.
Oh, that's me.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
Oh,
Oh, Steve. Good evening.
Ooh, somebody's recording me.
over and over and over again.
I must be delayed.
It's Groundhog Day. You get to do things over and over and over.
Are you presenting tonight?
You know what? I can email it to her and she can present, and then I don't have to.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure I had the right thing I was sending to her. Diane, I'm going to kick you a PowerPoint. It's just about 8 slides, if you could show it when we get to a certain point. Okay. I emailed that to you, Diane. It's just 2 different things going on today. Our first day back with everyone, and when we get to the report, you can click through them as I talk about them.
I didn't get it yet.
Okay.
But I'll wait patiently.
So are our mics working everywhere? Are we still working on that?
I think you're working everywhere. Diane has to be really loud.
Okay, but I'm working over here. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
How am I now?
No. Great. Well, you're doing a lot of talking.
I am just for this. Should I just stand somewhere? I need to.
Sure.
Do you want to trade microphones with me? Do you want to trade mics just to see if this one picks up better?
Maybe when I have to speak.
Why don't we try it right now just to see if that works? We can do that. Excuse me.
Of course, this has got germs.
I mean, I could turn
Try
my
it.
computer on. Can you hear me now, Rachel?
Yes. Total thumbs up.
Much better.
Hear me now?
No. I mean, I can hear you, but you're super light.
How about now? Can you hear me now? Good? Okay. Can't hear you, but we must have you turned down. So did Aaron get the link? Do you know?
Yeah.
Good. Oh, he's on. Okay, that's A. Okay. So if we haven't heard from Stephanie, I don't think anyone has, then we probably should go ahead and start. We have a quorum.
Okay. This is meeting of the Butte School District 91 School Board.
No.
Monday,
I'm sorry.
We good?
No,
Pass this one around.
So it's Monday the 12th?
Steve, we're gonna wait till we get a mic that works for you. We'll try this, let's do a test first as soon as Catherine gets over here.
Is this one working now?
No,
can you speak louder? Just to see.
Can you hear this?
no.
Well, I'll just leave the,
Can you hear this? So is there a channel or something that these things should be flipped on?
This is the one that was working.
I can hear that.
Can you hear this?
Yes.
so we have
Can you hear this?
one.
Yes.
Okay.
One here. What about Mark's? Does Mark, you wanna say something?
I think mine works.
Yes.
Okay, that's 3. Okay. I think we go. And we just trade mics around.
Well, after some technical difficulties, it is, what, 6:08 or something like that? Monday, April the 12th, school board meeting at the elementary gym. And so I'll call the school board to order. We'll do a roll call. Dan Murphy.
Mark Carlton.
Steve Nelson.
Aaron Warman.
Do we have somebody on Zoom?
Aaron, if we can hear him.
Aaron Warman.
Looks like we have Aaron Warman on Zoom. And we don't show Steffi Pitts. So with that, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
To the republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Dr. Long, are there any changes or amendments or any whatever to the agenda?
The agenda, it stands as is unless you have changes. I don't.
I have no changes. Murphy doesn't. Mark
No.
doesn't. Okay. So that said, do we have an approval for the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion from Mark, a second from Dan Murphy to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. We'll go to 2.0, consent agenda. 2.1, correction and/or approval of the regular meeting minutes for March 8th, 2021. I didn't see any glaring or outstanding mistakes on this. Anybody else?
No.
Okay, so do I have a motion to, normally we'd need a motion to approve the minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So we have a motion by Mark to approve the meeting, the minutes of the meeting, and we have Murphy with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll go to 3.0, communication reports. 3.1, Butte Falls Charter School Natural Resource Center, Mr. Mathis.
You know, Mr. Mathis is not here this evening. He's going to be here at our next meeting, and we're hoping to have a field trip before that for the board at your May meeting. I do have a few pictures I'm going to share with you in a little while of what his kids are up to today, though. So,
Okay. We'll go to 3.2, Superintendent Report Updates, Dr. Long.
yes, in your packet, you should see there's an enrollment report. Our current enrollment as of the end of March, 3/31/21, was 225. As of today, we have picked up 2 students, new students to us. That's 227. So we're holding above budget all year, which is really good news.
Anything else?
The last month has been filled with preparations for getting all our kids back to school, and today was our first day of every grade level here all day, and we're going to go through the whole week that way. And in fact, I don't know if you can pull up that PowerPoint right now, Mrs. Gorman. I just wanted to show you. Was out this morning. It was picture day. I was helping with that, but I got out this afternoon and I found go ahead and just run the first shot after this. Mr. Mathis got a grant, and he has a program with some students. It's a 2-hour block from 2 to 4 p.m. and they're doing a number of activities related to the Natural Resource Center. This is one project that occurs every year. This first picture here shows we're going to see parts of it, but this is the annual inoculation of oak logs, and I think they have another type of wood there too. I couldn't tell by the bark in the trailer, but if you go to the next picture, you'll see the first process is go out and cut these logs at a certain length so they're stackable. I think the oak is hidden on this side, and then go to the next picture. This shows the first step in the oak. They drill all these little holes in there with a special drill to a certain depth. And the next. And then they have a kind of a mix of mushroom spores and all kinds of goodies that you can see in the hand of one student, there's a red device, and they go in, they make a plug of the stuff to put in the holes. And this, we have a finished log here. It's all, well, actually it's getting ready to go to the next step. Go ahead and show us the next picture then. And then this was the crew of 3 people who were out there sealing the plugs of the spores with the wax. Those will incubate a little bit, and they'll do some soaking with them to activate it, and then those will be growing mushrooms all this year and for the next 3 years, and that'll be part of our shiitake enterprise. I have another picture here that I wanted to show you. This is one of our students, Donovan Barnes, who has continued with his welding. You know, we got a grant for welding a couple years ago, and on the left you see is a rototiller device that was snapped off at the bottom of the handle, and he's done a really nice job of laying in making a new handle and securing that with a weld. So he's showing us that. And then on the right are the two of the legs for some tables that we're building for our makerspace down at the NRC. That's the yellow house. These will go inside, and you'll have another big, thick, I think it's 2x2 steel going across the middle, connecting those, and then a tabletop goes on that, and that'll allow our students to work around those. So the plan is to build 12 of these eventually, but for now, I think they're going to build one as a prototype and then very quickly see how that works. So I just wanted you to see, first day, all kids back. We had kids engaged already in hands-on stuff, and that's what we're about as a school. And then in the morning I was over here, the preschool came over and we took school pictures of them, and then I just have 2 pictures here. This is right where we are right here. The pictures took place right on the stage. You can see there's blue tape now. Kids were, and this they were spectacular. They just followed the guidance we had. We had some great smiles. We had some very cute pictures that won't go in the yearbook, but we all really enjoyed how extra special it is on picture day when kids get to show us what teeth they have and what teeth they're missing. So this was here, kindergarten through pre-K through grade 5, and tomorrow we'll be doing pictures grades 6 through 12 over at the high school in the gym. And that's what I just kind of wanted to give you a sense of the flavor of the day. Beautiful day in Butte Falls. Other things I've been working on, you may recall, in order to do the CDL, comprehensive distance learning, in August, we had to submit a blueprint for doing that. And then when we went to hybrid, we had to submit a more extensive blueprint. And I'm in the process of modifying that to align with the new guidelines, which allow for 3 feet instead of 6 feet for elementary kids. But they've changed the whole format of it, and just it mysteriously changed. And so it's a little harder to get it in the right form. I wanted to bring it to you tonight, but I asked about why they did that, and it's for a good reason. Apparently, some of these readers that read text, for people who have difficulty seeing printed text, don't read the form that the state had created that we're using all year. So they changed the format so that the document will be more accessible to people who need to use that assistive technology. We had almost every kid here at the elementary school who said they were coming back to campus. I think we had 3 kids absent today. And then we have another probably 10 students who are doing comprehensive distance learning. They seem to thrive under that, and their parents wanted to finish that for the year. So at the elementary. So it was a good day here in Butte Falls. Lots of other things going on. I did want to share with you that we have right now, we have 6 applicants for the principal position. I'm waiting for a few more of those to come in, and the process will be, I've already talked with staff and got an input from them on characteristics they want in a principal. We'll probably be looking at doing an initial round of interviews, screening, and then interviews in the next 2 weeks to get it down to to a couple, 2, maybe 3 that we'll be public with. It's a pretty brave thing to apply for a job. And we certainly want our finalists to be scrutinized, but until we get to that point, we'll go through the screening process. And other than that, I mean, it's been very busy. We did get some really nice media attention last week from KDRV 12 and KOBI 5. They shared information about the grant we got that purchased desks for our elementary kids, which meant that we could open up our school because we had enough desks for everyone. And I'm just really pleased. I've got a lot of favorable feedback from people within our community, but also in the Rogue Valley and across the All Care Health provider too. They were really pleased that we honored them with the information we put out there. So there you go.
On kind of piggybacking on this, OSBA sends out daily emails with different things that come up for the school districts and stuff. There was one about a scholarship. I can't think of the name of it. That we might want to look at. It's like a statewide thing.
Sure.
I don't remember the name of it. The other one is education, webinars, seminars and stuff.
Sure, yes.
And so they've got a webinar for superintendent's evaluation coming up
Yes. I'm signed up for that one. I think it's next week.
in, the 21st.
Something like that, yeah.
So I've signed up for that, and one other board member is going to participate in that too.
Terrific.
So it'll be interesting to see what their kind of new curriculum or standards are, or what they come up with. So anyway, that's normally something we do this time of year, and I thought, well, I'll mention it since it's kind of been on the horizon. So
Thank you. And that concludes my report.
okay. Any questions?
Yeah, on the principal applicants,
Yes.
can you go through the schedule again on between now and when that person is hired, or I guess a sequence of events?
Well, we'll do an initial screening because we have a wide variety of applicants, some of whom may not meet all the minimum things that we need in a principal, so we won't run them through the ringer, as it were.
Right.
Then we'll have an interview process, and I think it's going to occur not next Friday, but the following Friday, of that group of people we think potentially could get through, and then after that, we'll have an opportunity to have some follow-up questions from them. I'm looking at asking the classified and licensed employees to provide someone to sit in on that interview process with me. And Holly Hill, who is our HR director that we've had through Douglas ESD, will also be on that team.
Does the board have any input?
Well, you always have input to me as your superintendent. The board hires a superintendent, and then the superintendent, you charge me to hire all the people to run your school. But I certainly, when we get to the finalist piece, you'll know who those people are, and I'm open to any feedback from you all at that point.
So at what stage do the teachers have input?
When we get to the interviews of the finalist people, we'll have a representative of teachers on the interview committee. They've already given, all the staff has already have surveyed them already on what they're looking for in a principal and concerns they would have in a principal.
Sure.
And even suggestions of people they thought who could be principals. So really, the strength already is that we have input from all of our employees through that process. And that's classified employees too.
Okay. So is it, I don't know that I haven't been around for one, but it sounds like it's standard for the teachers to have the input, the superintendent.
It's
Make the
ultimately
selection.
it's ultimately the superintendent's decision who I'll recommend to you for principal.
And then, but the board is not, doesn't sound like they're very active in this process.
At the point when I make the recommendation, that's where you'll make your decision. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Mark. Those are good questions.
we will go to 3.3, review of payment of bills.
Okay, Rachel, I want to test that we can hear you. Can you say something?
Can you hear me?
We're not hearing you right now. Just give us a second.
Okay.
Want to try something now, Rachel?
You want me to sing you a song? I'm not very good at it.
We're not hearing you.
I can sing my ABCs. That's about all you're gonna get. Can you hear me now?
I apologize, but this all got disrupted today with photo stuff and everything got unplugged and been scrambling to land it.
Sign language today.
Can you hear me?
I could just turn the sound on.
Rachel?
Yes. Can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Okay. Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay. I think let's go for it.
All
She
right.
can answer.
Mark, do you have any questions on the bills?
No.
Murphy? I'll pass my microphone over to Murphy.
Okay.
There are probably 6 different places where the computer hardware came into this. Is this preparing for next year or being used this year? Because we've committed thousands of dollars to this technology.
Yes. Yes, we have.
Here, you want to talk about Mike here?
Well, I don't know exactly what he's talking about.
That's fine. We can.
Different items, it's things from, so things that get coded to hardware aren't just a computer. It's things such as cameras or anything in relation to having the computer work itself. Cameras, microphones, different things like that get coded to technology.
If you were to ask about specific items, we could tell you.
Yes.
It looks to me on page 1, Dell, that looks like a computer purchase.
That was
15.
specific to the math, to the math department.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
The whole board can hear me this time?
Yes. Can you hear believe that?
Before we leave the bills, Dr. Long, and for the good of the order, I was just curious. big picture, COVID funding, stimulus, $2 trillion infrastructure bill coming. Did our district, are we, through all of this COVID stuff, did we get any extra money, funds, budget compensation, or is it just the status quo from beginning to end?
Rachel, you want to respond?
Sure, I can say, so there are currently 3 different pots of what's called ESSER money. So you have ESSER 1, which was the initial pot that they gave us that we've been using as COVID response since last March, that we're using through, which will be that and CD. I should say there's 4 different pots. There's ESSER 1, 2, and 3, and then there's CDL, which is the comprehensive distance learning. So comprehensive distance learning and ESSER 1 is funding that we've used since last March to pay for things that anything in response to COVID, cleaning supplies, extra people, those types of things. CDL was also used for anything that we used to be able to enhance our comprehensive distance learning. Additional equipment for students, additional equipment for staff, anything from headphones to microphones and different things that individual students that wouldn't have normally had to buy, but had to buy because we either had to have all students have one for each of them rather than sharing like we would have done before, or those types of things. ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 will come, ESSER 2 will show up sometime this year. I have not seen that funding yet. I do know that the allocation for that is, say, like 103,000. Does that sound right, Phil?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so 103,000 for ESSER 2, and then ESSER 3 that they're currently working on right now, and that they're working through, that the state's working on how to allocate and push that out. ESSER 3 is going to be close to $300,000, or even more than that. I would have to go back and look. Actually, if you give me 2 seconds, I can tell you what that dollar amount will be. Just a second. I know it's a larger amount, and that again is all in response to COVID. So anything that we do in response to COVID, extra people, which we've hired all those temporary people that we're hiring. Okay, so ESSER 2 is actually 229,000, and ESSER 3 is going to be 523,000. So there are additional funds coming that are going to help offset some of the costs that we're incurring due to COVID.
So when we get that money, is it inherent that whatever budget that we've had the last couple of years or even this year, do they wipe that and say, hey, you got a bunch of money, or is it additional money? I guess what I'm saying is if you have a certain district like ours where you've done an outstanding job, all of the management, Phil and everybody, managing from year to year, from quarter to quarter. And then with COVID, and sometimes we're barely making it, and sometimes we have a little surplus.
Right.
But with all of this money coming, do they take away the whole budgeting thing that we did, or is it additional money?
It's additional funding because they're saying that due to these pandemic, you're running into additional costs that you would not have incurred on any regular basis. They're also funding things such as enrichment programs, some childcare programs. So it's not just designed for stuff that you're doing through the year, because they're recognizing that there's issues with students falling behind and students not getting what they need. So they're saying, okay, out of this money that we're giving you, we're expecting you to do these items. One of them being a summer program, academic enrichment. So doing things outdoors and doing things as a summer program for students, and even the little ones.
Right.
But I tell you, Aaron, we have been really strategic in things even that we thought maybe we needed budget for. If we can apply it to the ESSER funds, we've gone there first. So I think what you'll find when we go to the budget process this coming year, that our ending fund balance will be higher than it has been in the past because we've shifted costs from things that we're required to spend in a certain way, or two things, so that allows us flexibility as we try to manage through the next couple years. And I think that's the crux of your question. Did they cut us, or do we have that resource? And we do. We have the resource.
And you can
Yeah.
see in your board report now, you can see that your ending fund balance is close to $400,000, and that's the reason why it is as high as it is.
Right. And yeah, Dr. Long, that's kind of what I was getting at is, you know, if anybody watches the news, it's, we have all this money, all these different things and all this stuff. And, you know, the homeless and the food and all these other people in this country are benefiting. And my opinion is there better be a large sum of money going into our schools, not only locally, but state and nationally. If there's something that needs to be funded, and it's our children. So I'm glad to hear that they're not giving you some and then saying, well, we're going to wipe out your existing budget and this is a replacement. So it looks like we're going to be good hands financially. So
Well, I think so, but one of the battles going on at the state level is that the state, the legislature and the governor's budgets are not increasing like they normally would in the coming 2 years, for the coming 2 years. So you're referring to something that is sort of happening by default, that the states, all the states are figuring the Fed money coming in, maybe they don't have to fund public education quite at the same level going forward. That's why we've tried to be strategic. We want that reserve because we're not confident that the state is going to give the roll-up costs that would help us just meet our costs, our obligations in the coming 2 years. So I think we're going to be in good shape. But, and if they were to fund us at that higher level, the things that we've been spending our funds on have been investments.
yeah.
And so that we're positioned much better to convince people that this is a school where they want to send their kids. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions on the budget? I mean, on the expenditures?
I have no more questions. Mark?
No.
I think Dan's done with his, so. We'll go to 3.4, financial summary. Rachel?
Well, I covered a lot of what I was going to talk about with Aaron's questions. So thank you, Aaron, for that great lead in. I will let you know that in the coming months, we're going to be extremely busy doing budget and items like that. So as a reminder, if you know people or want to get it out there, I know Julie's been doing some get the word out there for budget committee members. Ideally, it's 1-for-1. So every board member, you'd want a budget committee member. So just as a reminder, if you've got people, invite them to the May 3rd meeting. We did schedule the May 3rd meeting for 6 o'clock so that we could have all parties in attendance. I know that that's been a little bit of a struggle because we've done it earlier, and those that have lives in the real world, we want to be able to have everybody participate and I'll tell you that the meeting is scheduled to be in person. We have confirmed actually late last week that if it's something that you want to do virtually, you can still have the ability to do that by law. Originally, we weren't sure, but by law, you can do it virtually. I know that the notice that went out has both in person and or access it virtually. If you want to strictly go virtually, I just need to know that because I have to be able to post that notice publicly. If you want to do a hybrid of in-person and virtually, that's potentially where we're at and what we're doing right now. So I wouldn't have to change anything. So that's kind of on you guys how you want to proceed with that.
We assumed it would be like your board meetings. It would be a hybrid. So that's
Okay.
why we've noticed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My plan is to be there in person because I feel like the budget is kind of one of those very important things for me to talk directly with you. And I want to be able to connect with you guys with any questions. I will tell you that I am this close to sending it off to the print shop so that you guys will have it early. So yay. So you guys can review and have questions ready ahead of time. And that will help facilitate some of the budget meeting. The last thing I have was, it also came to my attention that earlier in the year in November, I had done a resolution for the seismic grant. So in order for us to spend that funding, after I started doing budget and started doing some things, we'll have to actually do a supplemental budget meeting, which we'll do in June as part of our budget hearing with the current budget, or with the budget going forward. The last thing I have for you is that we will, is good news, we'll receive a positive May adjustment. Yay.
Good.
It's not a lot. It's only $9,900, but what that says is that we have done exceptionally well in calculating what our enrollment is and all of the nuances of all the weights that they do with the state school fund. So that's good. And then we also have high cost disability money coming in just shy, or actually just over $20,000. So we'll have about $30,000 coming in May that's going to go to your ending fund balance. So that's a good thing. Other than that, that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I'm good. Murphy? Mark, okay.
Nope, I'm good.
So it looks like we're doing good on our levels of spending, and our percent of the budget is in line, so. We will now go to 3.5, charter school staffing update, Mrs. Gorman. Let me pack this little rascal over here.
Alrighty, can everybody hear me okay? Alrighty, so I wanted to, well, I'm going to do my slideshow here in a second. I just got to find the right thing I'm supposed to, oh, there we go. All right. Oh, hang on. Got to go way back.
That went real fast.
I know. I'll just go way back. I'll just give you such a fast preview of this. There we go. Back to the beginning. All right. So, well, first of all, I just want to remind everyone that we did start school with everyone today, and I'm not planning to share the Butte Falls Bulletin this time because it was pretty much the same old business from last time. There was a new letter from Phil, but I think we all got a copy of that. So it was basically saying that we were starting today full time. And Phil and I have been working to interview some temporary staff to help us end this year, because with all the students back on campus, and there's a few more nuts and bolts to figure out with transition times. So we're looking forward to hiring a few more people temporarily for this spring. So I want to show you a project I've been working on. It's only worth $72,000 this year. So it was $95,000 this year, $72,000 for next year. So Phil and I and Rachel are going to be sitting in on a state meeting tomorrow where we have to present our high school success. It's also called Measure 98. We have to tell them how we are spending our money and why we're spending it a certain way. So enjoy the show, because we actually have to show the slideshow tomorrow. So we have to give them a context about our community. So this is where we tell them when our school district started, where we sit. It's a little bit about the town, a little bit about our student body. And it did mention that we have a newly acquired fish hatchery being turned into the Natural Resource Center. So you can follow along with the packet that you have if you're here with us today. Okay. So we do have to provide an equity lens, and this is a draft, and I'm trying to find an eloquent way to say that we just serve students individually. We don't even hardly think about how they're different than others, except what are their immediate needs and how can we help them succeed. So we do reach deep to serve all of our students based on their immediate needs. This applies to courses, meals, transportation, counseling, and other opportunities. Some more demographics. We became a charter school in 2011. We had 139 students in 2014. We now have 225 students due to our increased marketing. In 2018, we finally were able to have 1 teacher per grade, which was a big goal of ours. We can support up to 300 students. Half of our students currently come from out of the district. Thus the charter school status really helped with that. We do have 25% of our students that are on IEPs or 504s. This means they need a little extra help either with academics or just managing day-to-day items. I did want to remind people that I did put the brochure in here that seems to be timeless. So there are no dates on here. You've seen this before and it still applies from what I can tell. So I'll be looking at that carefully though and making sure that if anything has changed that we'll change it on there. But from what I was looking at so far, see there's even the mushroom logs in there. Looks kind of familiar to what we're still doing, huh? And in the classroom, no masks here though. All right, back to here. All right. I am showing a variety of data. They want to see what data we looked at. So we looked at some 1920 data from the state, which was very limited. But the on-time graduation rate is on there and a 5-year completion rate. And talks about how many staff members we have. Also on the left here, you'll notice our different demographics about the types of students. So we are 86% white students, and then 10% Hispanic, and then the little smattering of others in here. So our on-time graduation rates can be something that we're definitely working on improving. And our 5-year completion is much better at 81% though, and they do show the subpopulations on here. Some more data. This data was from 1819 because this is the last time the state published this kind of data. So really it is the most recent we have from the state about class size, regular attenders. It's really hard to track attendance in the last 2 years because of having students at home, so that data isn't really even comparable. So this is really the data, the last data that we could look at that made any sense.
So is that class size, that's 11 students?
That is a bit skewed from the state because they're counting like our special ed teachers in there and our electives teachers. They're like taking the whole student body and then they're dividing by how many teachers we have. Right. And we have some that are doing like part-time work. And so that is a little skewed. We're more at 15 or 16 was our average at that time.
Which is that like half of most schools?
Yes. Yeah, much lower than you'll find in other schools.
Yeah. And then the 75% graduation, where's are most schools at?
The state average is 80.
Okay.
And this, what happens is sometimes we have a transient kind of population where students come in and out because we are a charter school and they have that ability to do that. So what'll happen is sometimes we lose a few, like say they go to 9th grade here, and then if they leave and they don't enroll somewhere else, there are dropout, even 3 years later, they're counted
Sure.
against us. So we try really hard to track that. Some are just hard to find.
It's
Yeah.
my first thought would be if the class size is half, that the graduation rate would be higher than most. But I know there's
Yeah,
all kinds of
theoretically,
stuff that feed into that.
we have a really good rate once they hit senior year. I mean, we're like 100%, right? If they start senior year with us, they make it through. This is about over the 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you see the 5-year completion rate is a lot better. So if someone had to take one of the years over,
Right.
then that just shows that we are consistent and persistent. Make sure
Sure.
that they get her done.
The state average for 5 years is 85%, and we're 83.
Okay.
Bill,
Yes?
I think the school, when they find kids that are behind or having trouble completing their senior year, they bring in extra help and they work with the kids, try to get them up to speed with all of their requirements.
When we have a student show up in high school and they're behind on credits, we make a plan for them and we provide a lot of support. It's the things we don't have control over that are the reasons why kids maybe don't finish. But if they're here, we're going to do everything we can to get them there to graduation.
Yeah, and you'll see as I go along how it fits into this plan as well. Okay, so some more data from 18-19. Again, just disaggregating the regular attenders, on-track graduation, and are on track to graduate. That talks about 9th graders, and then on-time graduation. And at the bottom, it says some of the things that we do in our school to help students stay engaged. This is from a staff survey from the SIA. So SIA is another grant that we get that I'm going to mention a little later. Also, Julie is working really hard on that. And we did a staff survey, 17 staff responded, and you'll notice that additional counseling, extra help, new courses, and more clubs and activities they thought were the priorities for us. And I highlighted those because I had to type them in there, this program, the LUM one. We did a parent survey. At this point, we only had 15 responses to this question about if your student has special needs or if they're in a certain demographic category. So we had 13 parents whose students had disabilities, 1 Black African American, 1 homeless, and 4 foster children represented in the survey. Again, that parent survey, about hiring a college or career counselor, which is one of our important things we do with this grant, about the importance of that. And you'll notice that medium and high importance is what the parents said. Also on the parent survey, kind of matched the staff survey. They thought that this was again extra help. It didn't get typed in there. Extra help, new courses, and more clubs and activities were important to the parents. Student survey, TBA, it's not there yet. That survey was just getting compiled as we speak. Again, here's some old data. The last data we have about attendance that was accurate. And, whoops. You'll notice that we keep a pretty good percentage all the way up through like 7th grade, and then we have this little dip when they hit 9th and 10th grade, so we know that those are some grades we need to focus on. The last biennium, our high school success funds were used for alternative ed, new elective classes, more guest speakers, and some college opportunities with RCC. And we started an SAT at school day in 2019. We weren't able to continue that last year or this year, but we're going to, we will continue that when we're allowed to. We did a self-evaluation through this process with the surveys. We found that our strengths on our staff were that we had regular planning sessions. We have access to data and tracking student plans. We are working on getting more CTE courses and best resources for struggling students, because again, just like you said, Steve, when our students are struggling, sometimes it's hard to figure out what they need. And 7th grade is where they want us to start letting students know that they can get college credit through our school. So that's a thing we're going to work on this year. So we have 3 goals for the High School Success Grant. Goal number 1 is all students will leave 9th grade on track towards graduation. So we are going to provide teacher collaboration time with a positive discipline focus. That tier 3, this is where we look at one student at a time and we just dig deep and try to figure out what can we do for that student. We're also going to purchase the Character Strong curriculum for all students grades 8-12. We do currently use that and we are learning more about it all the time. They just created some new curriculum, so we're super excited about that. Every week we make sure those students do some kind of character lesson. Our third activity, we're going to continue with our teacher mentor to work with all the teachers to increase relationships with students. Somehow, Dr. Long got Mary Palmer Nolan to come back, and we just love her so much, and she's a great inspiration for all the teachers. So, and she's so insightful. She can see what's going on with the kiddo and help us out. Goal number 2, all students will have the opportunity to take classes that lead toward their career interest. So, as you know, the last few years we've hired registered teachers with industry and college experience to teach electives. That's been quite effective and we need to continue with that. We're going to fully fund all the materials needed for hands-on electives that go with, of course, all of the electives, not just the registered teachers. And purchase and utilize the CIS Career Information System for all grades. Again, that's something we do and has really been helpful for us and for the students as they plan their futures. Third goal, third and final. So all junior and senior students have the opportunity to take dual credit classes that help in their college pursuits. But it doesn't just start in 11th grade. It starts by telling them earlier and planning with them earlier so they're ready when they hit that level. So we're going to continue partnering with RCC to provide dual credit classes. We're also going to continue our contract with Project Youth Plus to be on our campus at least half-time and serve all students grades 8-12. So that is Jean Whalen is who we currently have coordinated through, and she's been on campus talking to students. She focused on seniors at first, but then she's trickling her way down. And we're doing more and more with her all the time.
That was formerly College Dreams, and they expanded their program.
Yep. Okay, the biggest impact we're going to see is students will be better prepared for their futures and be excited about their options. And these actions are already integrated with our 5-year plan. So when we did the high school success plan, we made sure it aligned with that 5-year plan that the board already saw from Dr. Long. Okay, so we have not veered from that. Integrating with other funds. So these are things that you already heard about today. And I can even give you numbers if you like while we go through this list, if you want to grab yourself a pencil or a pen. So the High School Success Grant, like I said, is about $72,000, and that's what the things I just went through with those goals. So we also have a lot of grants to build and sustain our Natural Resource Center. I don't have a number for that one, but Rachel might. But I know that there's a lot of different ones out there. CDL, Comprehensive Distance Learning Expenses, that's the $103,000 that she mentioned earlier. We also have SIA or SSA funds. We plan to provide counseling, extra teachers and aides through that money. That's about $85,000. COVID and ESSER kind of go together. We have about $41,000 there. That is for providing materials to students so they don't have to share, just like Rachel was talking about earlier. Okay, everybody needs their own calculator, their own pencil, their own ruler, their own everything, so that they're not sharing and sharing germs, theoretically. And Summer School 2021. I'm actually going to a meeting tomorrow afternoon with the state. After we're done with our other meeting, we have access to about $100,000 to help with summer school this year. So we need to really have some focused effort and make sure that we're making sure those students. Last spring, we had to give incompletes. We could not fail students. So a lot of students got incompletes because they didn't finish their work, and they have a whole year to make that up. So the end of this summer, they have to have those credits made up, or they're going to turn to Fs. So we're going to have, like I said, we're going to need to make a very concentrated effort to have those students back here and making up those credits. Back on track. So last page, final thoughts. Just wanted to reiterate that in our small remote school, we are constantly adjusting to the current needs of our students, and we appreciate that high school success has been easy to utilize and flex the funds that directly affect students. In fact, last year we received a little extra money. They've let us extend it into the summer. They've just been really helpful with that money and what we can use it for.
And I just want to one of the strategies we've had is to look at all of our different funding streams and to target the funds in the way that work alongside our general fund budget well. And we kind of have that mapped out in our strategy, and that is actually being shared with other districts as a strategy because they see that we're getting more bang for the buck in that.
Right, so any questions about that? All right, I'll give this back to Steve. Or Dan. Okay.
So Diane put on a slideshow and did some explanations and stuff. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, sorry. Is this what we're putting out to recruit teachers? Did I understand that correct? Or
This here is our response to we have to have the state's going to look at how we spent these high school funds, okay. And this is our reporting to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We'll go to 3.7, Butte Falls Community School Partnership. Mr. Murphy.
We are functioning. We are functioning within the state guidelines, and that's all we can do. Yep. But everything's going okay right now.
Okay. I skipped 3.6.
Okay. So just a quick update on, we're going to be having well, it'll be a parent virtual engagement meeting on April 22nd between 6 and 7. We've gotten out surveys, which is basically an invite, so people that can sign up for the meeting that way, and those that sign up will be receiving a certificate for a pizza from Little Caesars, $10 certificate, which comes out of our Title I family involvement money. And we will be explaining how we have spent our SSA money and how we plan to spend our SSA money in the future, our different meetings we've had, and also show our title funds and how we've spent them and how we've been able to grade our funds and make our dollars go further for projects and investments for our students. The end.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about the skipping.
Yeah, okay.
We'll skip Murphy then. He's already talked. 3.8, public comment. So I don't see there's any public comment, so we'll go past that. 4.0, old business. 4.1, school reopening options and schedule adjustments. Dr. Long.
So I just wanted to put on the record that we were able to exceed what we projected to do twice in the process of reopening. We transitioned from early on from jumped over a phase, and this last with our reopening today, we actually were not planning to open our 8th through 12th grade at this time, but with changes at the state and really hard work by our staff, we are back full time, and I think everyone's really happy about that. Still kind of got our fingers crossed a little, but kids need to be back in school, and we got them there. So I just want to thank the board for being patient as we've gone through all of that. Our staff is supportive of that. I don't have any staff who have said I can't come to work. Everyone's working really hard, and even we're having people who want to come work temporarily to help us make this work. That's the best case scenario. So I just wanted to give you that update, and I hope we don't have to talk about reopening again the rest of the year.
Well, it feels good to hear the kids out there and see them running around and doing stuff.
That's what I'm hearing from people around town. It's just nice to hear laughter in our community during the school day.
Okay. Thank you to our staff and people for helping that happen too. 5.0, new business. 5.1, revised 2021-2022 district calendar. Dr. Long.
This was the calendar that we presented to you on March, and we found a couple things. We were graduating our kids, I think, a week too early, and so it's just minor changes like that. Same number of school days for kids. We tried to be responsive. Julie and I, our goal is that to not have to bring this back to you again. No, we're hoping the only time that would occur is if the state required us to because of other things, but we're thinking this is where we're going to land for next year. So I'm asking for your approval of the revised April 12th version of the 2021-2022 school calendar.
So do I have a motion then to accept the revised Butte Falls School District 91 2021-2022 school calendar? We have a motion by Murphy.
Second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have Aaron, I also. And we go to 5.2, revised 2020-2021 budget or board budget calendar. Dr. Long.
Yes, you actually approved a board budget calendar on June 29th, 2020. And since then, we canceled a board meeting on the 21st because of the open chain fire. And then we've also modified for the budget committee time to start at 6 p.m. So this reflects all the changes. We have to have an official approved calendar from you all, so we're bringing this revision to you for your approval.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to accept the modified Butte Falls School District Board Budget Calendar 2020-2021? Murphy makes a motion.
I'll second.
Mark seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Aaron's aye also.
I do want to make one note. On June 14th, we will have a public hearing on the budget. It will start at 5:30, and we're assuming then your board meeting will start at 6 p.m. So anyone who wants to make comment on the budget, that's when we have the public hearing. And so I'd ask that you all be available at 5:30 on June 14th for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I saw that. Okay. 5.2, resolution 21-10, Teacher Appreciation Week, May 3 through the 7th, Dr. Long.
You know, you just can't appreciate people enough, but especially through really difficult times. This Teacher Appreciation Week comes around every year. It's in May. This is your last opportunity before that week to acknowledge. And so we have this resolution here, and we could read around the circle, and then I'd recommend approval by the board, okay? So,
Okay,
going to start?
sure.
Okay. Teacher Appreciation Week Resolution 2110. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and
Whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds and
Whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and
Whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling, and coaching students and performing community service, and
Whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in educating the children of this community.
now therefore be it resolved that the Butte Falls School District Board of Directors proclaims May 3rd through 7th, 2021 to be Teacher Appreciation Week. And
be it further resolved that the Butte Falls Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of our community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for the dedication and devotion to their work.
that's the resolution. I recommend approval.
so,
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
we have a motion to approve the Teacher Appreciation Week resolution. Do I hear a second? We have a second from Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. And Mark, and Aaron. Thank you very much. And our appreciation to our teachers, too. 6.0, personnel, any?
Nope, no personnel items tonight.
Okay. 7.0, comments, future agenda items. Mark?
I got a list here. Is moving forward, or I guess first thing is sports. Do we making any progress with sports teams and games and?
So I recently heard that they're starting basketball as scheduled. And I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but we are planning to move forward with that. And we do have 2 students playing baseball with a co-op with Prospect.
Okay. Basketball.
But we weren't able to field any other, like a softball team. We didn't have enough.
Okay. And then the games, are we gonna have home games or what's going on?
Yeah, so there should be a schedule on OSAA.
Okay.
Last time I looked, it wasn't there, but I know that they were making it. I believe the baseball schedule is on there.
And are these events open to the public?
Good question. I believe, I'm not going to say right now, because they've changed their rules almost as many times as we've changed ours at school.
Okay.
If they are allowing spectators, it would be with masks and the 6-foot guidance, I'm sure.
Okay. And that leads me to my next question with regards to the masks and all the protocols we've had to mandate to open our schools. Is there any talk of any of that being relaxed? No.
Not that I'm aware of.
And that's state guidelines, I'm guessing.
Right.
Okay.
OSAA makes those rules.
And, so now that the teachers have their vaccines, is there still a concern from the unions?
There is a concern that we follow all the rules.
Okay. So meetings like this, public meeting, is it restricted from the public?
But we still have some restrictions on what we can do virtually.
Right.
So get this one.
Okay. So still lots of restrictions, it sounds like. Sure. The last comment I had was coming from a concerned parent about sitting in on their students' instruction during class time. I think in the past, that's always been allowed, I believe. And unless I'm mistaken, I know my parents could attend my classes, and as parents, we've attended our kids'
Yeah,
classes.
so the question is can parents sit in on their kids' classes? And in the past, we have allowed some of that. That tends to be more of a concern when kids are really young, kindergarten age, that age. Because of the state guidelines, we're not allowed to have visitors on campus, and that includes parents. So that is why we're not allowing that opportunity at this point, because it's actually one of the state regulations.
Okay.
But we look forward to the day when we can open our schools back up. We still would be very protective about having parents come into classes because there are other children in there. We have some children in all public schools for safety reasons, for things going on in their lives that we have to be very careful about who comes in.
Sure.
Can't allow pictures or things like that, or
Sure.
just. But that it really is specifically related for a kindergartner, especially would be related to the COVID guidelines from the state.
Okay. I know it hits a nerve with a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot. I can understand where the scrutiny comes from with parents not being able to witness the education that the state is.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the state's care basically, and being told no, you can't witness it, can't see it.
Sure.
So I understand where the school's coming from, but I sincerely understand where the parents are coming from as well.
I know in that instance we have the teacher has reached out specifically, and it appears it's more about the parent being observed that what's going on in the classroom. It's not about any concern with the student's progress. It's
Sure.
just that piece, and unfortunately right now we can't make the accommodation.
Right.
But I totally appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a principle that is sensitive. So as long as we realize it and do what we can, and that's kind of what led into all these questions. Okay, now we got vaccines, we got masks, we're back in school, but we're still have restrictions in place.
Well, and I do think one of the realities is we have a lot of people who still are who are choosing for a variety of reasons not to be vaccinated, and the challenge we're facing as a society is the longer, as within any flu, a bug, the longer that it goes, it morphs, it changes, and so it's very possible people who are vaccinated may have to have another level of vaccination if we continue to have variants of the flu. So I think that's why the CDC is really pushing, still wear masks, do the distancing, and limit access. And Oregon's looking to the CDC guidelines for what Oregon's doing. That's what it's really tied to.
Right.
Not every state's choosing to do that. And they have noted, and they may change this, that with young children, they've allowed us to have them in closer proximity, 3 feet. But if the variants that they're discussing take off, we may see a restriction back to 6 feet again, just because now they're seeing hospitalizations are rising with more young adults
Right.
than anything. So, to say anything definitive, that's why I'm just hoping we can just finish the year with all kids at school and we keep our campus safe from COVID so that we can have a full fourth quarter.
Sure. Okay, that was my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
This one's for Rachel. On page 2 of the old minutes, is there a certain percentage
hear you, Dan.
All right. Is there a certain percentage of offset between the schools fund of the state and the increase of the local taxes? We increased about 30,000 in taxes, and they took about 18,000 away from us.
I can only hear parts of it, and I think it's around the local tax that's coming in. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the question is related to our local property tax revenue went up, and we saw a reduction in state funding relative to that. Is there what's the connection there? How specifically? Is that what's happening?
Yes, yes, that's what happens. So the more you bring in, the drop. So in an essence, the more local you bring in, the less the state contributes to you, because they say that your local income is helping to offset, because the local taxes, property taxes, don't go to anybody else but Jackson County. So they offset the state school fund by saying you're receiving more local funds, so we're going to drop your state fund. But again, there's that complex formula of how much comes in and how offset. It's not just dollar for dollar. There's a huge formula that goes behind that to calculate that component. Did that answer?
That's close enough. Diane, we are, or are we going to have the summer school then?
Yes, we are planning forward to summer school.
Would you tell Bridget, please, or notify her of it? She's interested in that. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no comments. So it's 7:18 PM.
I have a comment.
Pardon? Aaron?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The personnel was talked about a little bit ago. Maybe Dr. Long could grab the mic, but I'd like an overview of teacher, staffing, personnel, what next year looks like. Diane's retiring, and when is her last day? And Dr. Long, how much longer are you going to stick around? We want you forever.
I will interject that in the budget meeting, I have a FTE slide in there for what was budgeted last year or this year, what the current FTE is and what FTE looks like going next year. So if you're willing to wait till May 3rd, I will have that exact FTE for teachers and IA staff available to the number.
Okay.
And Aaron, I'm going to retire on June 30th.
Okay. Congratulations. I wish I could. I have another question. I probably missed it somewhere along the way, but how's the planning of graduation going and how's that looking?
So graduation is going ahead similar to what we did last year, but we might be able to allow more people in. So we do plan to have a live graduation and as many people as we're allowed to have in our gymnasium.
Good deal.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the last really important business, Aaron, we've had a bag of candy for you since before Christmas waiting for you here, and I think we're just going to distribute it to someone, okay?
Oh, I'll show up in person next time then.
Okay, well, then we'll hold it for you.
I was trying to make it tonight. I just got home late.
Not a problem. Glad you're at the meeting.
Okay, I have no comments. Aaron has said his, Mark and Dan, so with that in mind, do I hear a motion to close the meeting at 7:20 PM?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second from Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting over.
Thank you, guys.
take that. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Oh, that is a copy.
I figured they were the same.
It is the same. This is the contract that we bargained with the classified last year. We finally have a published copy. So any classified employee, be sure that you can